Here.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
And here we go. This is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor. Thanks for joining me on today's podcast on this beautiful Saturday morning. Beautiful out. Absolutely beautiful. I tell you, when I was in Asia, when I used to work a lot in Asia, we used to get really hot weather during the day. And then throughout the day, or normally in the afternoon, we would get these big rainstorms that would come in and literally dump water all over whatever community I was in. And let me tell you, it's the same thing here. I compare this. I spent a lot of time in the Philippines working. I had a call center there. And then I also had a NCLEX review center there that helped nurses pass the California boards. So I spent a lot of time there. And I remember how the weather was. I mean, it just literally poured down. Last night we had the same thing here in Greenville, South Carolina. I mean, it just poured down, and everything gets watered. But so it's a great Mother Nature we have, unless you're out in it and that thing comes down on you. You're trying to find a place to find shelter. But everything's nice and green this Saturday morning. So we got the jobs report in for June, right? We're halfway through the year, halfway through 2023. Now we're into the second half of the year. But the problem with the numbers is it was a low point because the numbers of jobs went down. And we have to look at this very cautiously because the numbers that were reported last month not last June, but in May, had to be adjusted. So for June, employers added 209,000 jobs in June. And that is down from the 339 jobs added in May. Now, May was revised. It went from 339,000 down to 306. So it was adjusted. Now, why was it adjusted? It really doesn't tell us why it was adjusted, but it was adjusted downward. So when you see politicians bragging about the job numbers and how great they are, they're not that great. A good portion of these jobs that have been created, because now it's summertime and people are staying at hotels and they're traveling and they're flying, were in hotel and travel. Now, you know that hotel and travel is only during a period of time during the summertime where everything ramps up, and then they begin to ramp down again and prepare for the winter months. Now, one of the good things is, and which I'm happy with, is that healthcare continued to drive the job growth, as well as government in construction. Now, I'm going to pause right there and say, why are we adding more jobs to government? So the government comes in and says, we got to improve our numbers, so let's hire a whole bunch more new people. To me, that doesn't sound ethical. Meanwhile, the employment rate that we had was tickling down to 3.6%. Now, I've told you this before. I don't believe that number because they're missing a lot of information in that number, especially when it comes to layoffs, especially when it comes to bankruptcies, especially when it comes to all these things that are eliminating jobs. They do not include that in the jobs report. So I would suspect that the jobs report at 3.6 should really be at about 6.9. That's what I would guess the May that should be at. Because we have this creative accounting in government, as you know, in the Department of Defense, they came up with several billions of dollars because they made an accounting error. Well, they keep making these number errors in the government, and they're telling us the wrong numbers. So whatever we see out of the jobs report, you have to put very little care into it because it's not telling us the truth of what's actually happening out there. Now, one of the other things is that the average hourly earnings increased only by 0.4% in June, changing little from the 0.3% in May. So we have a little bit of confusion of what's going on there. I don't think that we're looking at the numbers correctly. I just don't. I think I would call on Congress to sit down and let's look at these numbers and come up with a better way. Because we're not being given the full impact of what's happening in the economy. So the government drives it to make it look good, but in actuality, we are having massive layoffs, we're having massive closings of business, and everything else that they are not talking about, they're not telling us about. So, I don't know. I just have this issue that we need a better system in trying to come up with these job numbers because we are failing miserably. We are not at 3.6%. I'm telling you this right now. We are not at 3.6%. That should be adjusted. If you have so many temporary jobs, so many temp jobs, that should be an adjustment. Okay? So, as an accountant, and as a guy that looks at data all the time, I get very frustrated when I see manipulation or just misunderstanding or just flagrant nonsense. I think we need a better system. And I think it needs to start happening very, very soon. Because you and I cannot be misled so much as how they're misleading us right now. Now, I want to talk about something else, okay? I've talked about wokeness a lot, right? And I've talked to you almost on a weekly basis on companies that became woke and they literally destroyed their brand and they literally destroyed their company, their business. Now, I'm really upset with Ben & Jerry's. I don't like that. And now they are saying that the Jerry's headquarters are on stolen land by one of the American chiefs. Ben & Jerry's headquarters on stolen land. Now, this has been going on for some time. And Ben & Jerry, who no longer own Ben & Jerry's, came out and said, yeah, it's on stolen land. They want reparations. They want this. They want that. You can't go about doing this all the time and bringing up these woke thought process because, listen, time has passed. Time is gone. When the Indians were here before us, they were having territorial fights with other Indians and they took over. They took over lands. They took over widespread pieces of America. And then another country came in, another brand of individual, and they began taking over. It happens in every single nation. If you go look at Israel, I mean not Israel, but go look at Europe. Those borders over there have changed so many times because individuals have come in and they've taken over. But we don't go back and see people saying, I want money for what you did to me. And nothing was done to you because you weren't even around at that time. So we have a really bad woke mentality of woke companies who are taking on these positions. And let me tell you, since they've taken on this position of these Indian lands, they have lost I think it's almost over $1 billion in revenue because they have taken a social message and they have offended their clients, they've offended their customers, they've offended their own employees. Every time that you take on a woke position as a company, you offend. You make an issue. So, if you want to look at all the companies that have gone woke and look what has happened to them. Look how much billions of dollars that Disney has taken in a loss. Even on their current movies, because people are so fed up with their Disney, with having gay characters and trans characters in Disney movies and Disney cartoons, that they've lost billions of dollars because they have offended. They've created conflict with their own people, with their own clients, their own customers. And you can look at other companies too. Look at what happened to Twitter. Twitter almost went down, almost destroyed itself, because it focused so much on wokeness that it forgot how to run a business. They forgot to run a business as a business. And that becomes an issue with stockholders and vendors and advertisers and everybody else, because it went out of hand. Wokeness goes out of hand. Wokeness is never ethical. It's always creating some type of conflict, and it's never good. If businesses just focused on business, they would thrive. They would make millions and billions of dollars, and they would not offend people. That's the problem. Too many people want to look like goody two-shoes and go out there and say, I am pro-trans, I am pro-LGBT, I am pro-whatever. And when they do that, they offend, because it is a social political issue, and politics should never ever be in business. I've told you this before, and I've gone over and over this with you. The only time you should deal with an issue that deals with government is if there is a bill before Congress that is going to affect your business. That's when you get involved. But you don't get involved in social warfare. I like to call it social warfare, because you're going against your very own clients, your very own customers. You're offending them. I hate conflict. I listen, as a mediator, and I mediate a lot of business disputes, is that conflict, it costs a lot of money to any business. There's so much conflict within businesses within the last few years that it literally costs these companies money, because no employee knows exactly how to react. Who are they going to support? What are they going to say? Because it's against what they believe. So you see, wokeness has got to get out of this whole subject of business. Business should be business, and that is it. If you wanted to create a charity that helps the poor, or helps the homeless, or helps kids get a better education, do that. That's good. But don't be woke, because it destroys businesses. And I think you know what I'm talking about. Listen, if you'd like to have a confidential conversation with me, you can schedule an appointment online at www.lodge-co.com. And if you have a business question, shoot it over to me. I love business questions. And send it over to thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. Again, that's thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. Send it to me, and I'll try and get you an answer back. If I don't know what the answer is, I'll find someone that does know, and they can help you. Anyway, everybody go out and have a great Saturday. It's a great July. Have fun. Love you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you for your grace, your amazing grace. Thank you for the way that you forgive me every day. Thank you for your grace, your amazing grace. Great is your mercy. Thank you for your